indication of like really making sure that it's applicable to the opportunity you're actually looking for. I saw a post recently on LinkedIn from LPL, and they actually tell you exactly what they're looking for in their in the resume when somebody's applying for the internship. So that's a perfect opportunity to really follow a company. This is LPL Financial, and just they tell you exactly what they're looking for in the resume. One page, specific areas of like what some of the things that you're involved in in your campus. If you're currently working, if you're currently doing other things, if you're part of student orgs, be very specific to what the employer really wants. And I think a lot of times that's the miss that students, really don't look at. They start looking at everything on LinkedIn and like, what comes, your college websites and all of these great links, which is perfect. But the first thing is always start with your resume and your documentation. You're having a good portfolio, having a good cover letter to be able to be ready to turn that into any company. And I think that's where I always start. I never really start looking at internships. I start looking at the resume first. And then if you have any internships that you're looking at, then we look at the details of what the internship involves and how some of those skills, maybe this is your first time doing an internship or applying for one, maybe you're looking at those transferable skills that we can add to your resume so that they can highlight what the skill set you have as you continue in your major or in your career. So that's one of the things that I always look for first is the resume and the cover letter and making sure that you're ready for that before you start really applying for those internships. And yes, this is a season. A lot of the internships that I look at, they're both September and October, but then there's also internships throughout the whole year too. So like always access every single link out there, like, connect with your campus, student orgs, anything that you can be able to look at. And also the other thing too is as you start this fall semester, or semester or quarter, really start looking at those opportunities because I know this is the beginning and this is where everybody starts. But a lot of students really do start in the summertime too. So.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, Lorena, for that great insight and well laid out plan of action to first start with your resume and then also have a cover letter, right? So having said cover letter, I'm going to shift over to Victor Colominas Ruiz. Victor, you're a professional at this point, and I don't know if you've had the opportunity to actually interview a lot of individuals, but that being said, how important and what is the one or two things that you look for when you're trying to hire interns? And aside from that, it's an actual letter something that you look for as well? Is that still relevant nowadays?
So, do you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. So in my company, I work at HP, and I'm actually involved a lot in the summer interns. So I help a lot in the selection and in the process of like welcoming and making sure that everybody has a good experience. So for that, relatively relevant, right? I'm not so involved in the selection of specifically like each team and intern. So I'm gonna answer a little more generic than specifically when you pick somebody for your team. But all in all, we don't require cover letters. I think that cover letters in general or motivation letters, they are used a lot for making sure that the person has the commitment to follow through and that have thought through why they are applying to a company, right? In my own opinion, this can be achieved in other ways, but it's a filter, right? Like in a world where we open a position and there's like 150 applicants in the first 3 hours, it's hard to filter, right? So it can be an extra way of making sure that this person is not applying to everything that they see, and they are thoughtful of why am I applying to be a software engineer at HP. For that, I personally like a lot unique experiences. I like you always have to have a relevant experience to the role you're applying, right? So if somebody is doing computer science, is applying for a role in marketing, well, that's gonna be shocking for me, right? But at the same time, and that's something I've experienced a lot with people, when my local chapter of SHIP has done process with university, don't shy away of your uniqueness. I think it's important, right? I have a lot of people that have lengthy experience in service industries and they're applying for computer science and they're like, oh, I don't want to talk about this. And for me, it's always very important, right? Like this shows first that you are a responsible person that has kept jobs for a long, long time, right? And second is like, this is going to add more to your position, right? You have to have relevant experience, but also every single piece of experience you have, it's going to be very valuable for you and your job, right? I think the diversity in the workplace is very, very important. And when you're solving problems, having different points of view is super, super relevant.
Thank you, Victor. That's great insight.
Hmm.
And with that being said, I'm going to shift over to a student, or now Natalia Ojeda, who has had several internships. And the question to you, Natalia, is you managed to actually get an internship as a community college student while you were still in Southwestern, local community college here in San Diego. And that was, I believe, if I remember correctly, during the pandemic. So, can you share your experience, tactics? How did you manage to actually score and secure an internship being a community college student? Because the myth is if you're a community college student, it's very difficult to actually get any jobs or internships. You have to wait until you are actually in a 4-year university. So if you can share your insight and experience with us, please.
Absolutely. So yes, I did get an internship back in my community college days. I did go to SHIP National Conference remotely that year because that was when, obviously COVID was happening. But that's not where I got the opportunity. I got the opportunity because a professor was sharing this opportunity with the Naval Information Warfare Center, NIWIC for short. And I just kind of was like, I have this coding class that I took. I kind of meet some of the requirements, and if the professor is saying that I should apply, then I should apply. And what I think prepared me for putting myself out there and looking for internship opportunities was the support that I got from SHIP. Like prior to SHIP, prior to all of those workshops that the Southwestern chapter put on, including how to build your LinkedIn, how to build your resume. Uh, I attended those. I made sure to get my resume reviewed by a couple people before I sent it in, and then I sent it in. You also had to do like some essays, so I wrote up a couple essays that I needed to. But my biggest thing I think is like, because one thing I talked about a lot was imposter syndrome, and I know being that that's kind of like a false fact that people like to believe that community college students don't really get opportunities. I think just kind of toning out the noise from the outside and putting yourself out there, even if you maybe don't feel as qualified as you think you might be. Because at the end of the day, no professional in an internship is gonna look at an intern and be like, hey, you should know all of this stuff. They're not gonna basically pin you and test you right away when you get there. Professionals know that you're still learning, you're taking classes, you're a work in progress, and that's why you're there, to learn as well. So I think if you just step out of that kind of narrative that as a community college student or as a young professional that maybe doesn't have a lot of work experience, that you can't apply to a position. It's kind of interesting. So I found myself in a hospitality suite at this, I want to say, one national conference ago. It was the one in North Carolina. And I knew a professional in the hospitality suite, and I honestly didn't know like the dynamic of like, oh, we have to wait in this long line before you get in. And I had my suitcase and everything with me, so I kind of looked like a professional, and I walked in thinking like, okay, here I am, and I think it was like at Accenture, and so no one was really like, I didn't see any of or any college students like me So the moral of the story, the reason I'm bringing it up is because before all of the college students would come in, they were like, hey, this is what we're looking for. This is what we want. This is the positions we have available in X, Y, and Z city. And I was like, that's when I realized I shouldn't be in there. And I was like, oh no. So, but I mean, it gave me the opportunity to be like, oh, okay, this is what they're looking for. I kind of had an insight. All that to say is that sometimes you don't know what the companies are looking for. Like we don't, as interns, we don't get that insight. So just apply because you never know. I mean, I know that when I got accepted into NIWIC, they were trying to get diversity and trying to reach out to the community college students and bridge that gap. So it was kind of perfect for me. Had it not been for that, would I have got the opportunity? I don't know. But um, all that to say, yeah, just you never know what they're looking for. They might have some positions that they want to fill, and it doesn't always align with what you think they're looking for.
So just putting yourself out there and not denying yourself the opportunity to pursue something is key, right? So with that being said, I know Hector Felix, he's a manager. Hector, I don't know if you can turn on your mic and share some insight. One, as a manager, what advice would you give to prospective interns or seeking internships? When should they actually start? We heard Lorena say, start with your resume, go ahead and strengthen it at this point. I agree with that ideology and make sure that you have a strong resume that reflects who you are. You have an objective or some sort of statement at the top indicating what you're looking for, and obviously having some sort of experience, be it in the classroom or projects listed out that are relevant to you and what you are looking for as far as industry, right? But you, Hector, what type of advice would you suggest for the young individuals and or early career individuals that are possibly maybe 1 or 2 years into their career field? What would you suggest they do at this point?
Yeah, hey Lázaro, thanks for the question. And hey everyone, my name is Hector Felix. I'm a software engineering manager at Northrop Grumman. One of the biggest things so I mentor a lot of students, and one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how can I differentiate myself? How to stand out? And just to echo something Victor says, in the first 24 hours, you will get 150 applicants. So I do interview interns, I do interview junior engineers, and I'm actually going to be interviewing on behalf of Northrop Grumman at SHIP this year. One of the biggest pieces of advice I can give to someone is it's never too early. Regarding resumes, for me, I think it was important for me I'm a computer science major, was my undergrad. Software engineer was what I wanted to do. But within software engineering, there's a ton of different paths. And with a software engineering degree, you can go into a number of different industries. So I had 6 or 7 versions of my resume specific to the industry I wanted to be in. And even more specifically than that, I'd tailor my resume specifically to the role I was applying for, making sure I listed the exact things they were asking for, because they're pretty explicit now. They want XYZ. You better make sure you have, a few of the things they're looking for on your resume, because before the resume even reaches me, before it reaches HR, before it reaches talent acquisition, it goes through something called application tracking software, where it filters out keywords right off the bat. Does this person have what we're looking for? Is this person, the kind of person we want in this role? Because they're not going to just take somebody because they have a degree. They want somebody who has relevant skills, relevant experience. Okay, Hector, how do I get that relevant experience? The biggest differentiator in terms of early career and students is projects. It's so easy to build a project. That's why I say it's never too early. For a software engineer, build a website, build something that showcases what you do. Here's the exact tech they're looking for built on a website. Build it early, build it in your spare time, and make it your side project. You're doing many things there. It's you're getting experience in technology you don't get in the classroom, because in the classroom you learn the ABCs of everything and the theory behind everything. But when you build something, it's production level code, it's relevant, and it looks good. It's something you can present, and it's something that makes you different. So I think side work, it's not only software. You can do any side work, any relevant projects. So I think that that's hugely important, is to have something that differentiates yourself in terms of resumes, because it's hard to stand out on paper. And second piece of it is, I do think so. There's pros and cons to an objective statement, a professional statement, but I think in early career it's very beneficial to talk about why you want to be there, what you bring to the table, apart from skills, relevant experience, GPA, degree. You know, talk about this industry, talk about this role, talk about why it's a passion for you. Passion, if you can relay passion through your resume and through the way you talk, that'll make you stand out and make you memorable to those interviewing you.
Awesome. Thank you, Hector. That's great insight. Yes, and you mentioned the automatic tracking system, automated tracking system, applicant tracking system, known as the ATS, literally a filter that looks for XYZ percentage of words that match the job description for the particular position that you're applying for. And sometimes you don't even get to be scouted by a real person. It just goes into the void, and you get an automated letter saying thank you. You don't really fit the requirements, or something along those lines. Very polite, right?
Absolutely.
And I think going to in-person career fairs is a huge advantage. And thank you for sharing that you're going to be interviewing and helping at the SHIP National Convention for Northrop Grumman. And that's a great insight for a lot of students. If you really want to have a better chance, go to those in-person career fairs and hand your resume to the individuals. So at least they look at it, shake their hand, make sure that you make that personal human touch connection. And that's what Hector really hinted at here. I'm going to shift over to Diego Martinez. Diego Martinez, you are in your second internship with Boeing, and you've had quite a tremendous story on how you've been able to get there. I want you to share a little bit of how were you able to secure that first internship, and more importantly, how were you able to get an invite as a second internship for a second consecutive summer?
Absolutely. So I secured my first internship at an in-person career fair. And this career fair wasn't through SHIP, it wasn't through any societal or professional organization. I had a connection that sent, sent me a picture of an email saying that Boeing was having this hiring event close to my hometown. And so I decided to attend, and and then I interviewed there and went through the whole process, and the manager that interviewed me liked me, and I ended up getting the job. So that was the process there. And then for my return offer to return to a second internship. So the way, I don't know if this is how all companies do it, but I'm familiar with the Boeing process. When it comes to interns, Boeing likes to, convert them either for another internship or for a full-time position. And so what I did is through Boeing, I filled out a conversion form to convert from an intern from that summer to the intern to next summer, which is the internship I have right now. And that was all internal through Boeing. And because I was already in the company, the manager that selected me, I didn't have to do an interview. All I had to do was just grow my network and make a lot of connections and find out what position was right for me. So yeah, that's what the process was.
Thank you, Diego. That's great insight for any intern that's actually wanting to convert, depending on the company you're in, right? So you look at the process, look at what's going on. So with that being said, I know, Eric, you've had your first internship. I hope you can turn on your mic and you can share a little insight. You are literally finishing your first internship, and congratulations for working with Cummings in that matter, right? But you and I were talking a couple weeks back, and I suggested you talk to your manager to see if you could get converted and get an offer for the following summer. And you mentioned that you had already established and started that conversation. So I just want to see whether what Diego said is still going on at Cummings, does that happen at Cummings, or how is that process coming along for you, sir?
Yeah, so I'm actually at work right now, but yeah, Cummings, like a lot of companies like Boeing, they like to, convert their interns to full time and go. They like to do intern co-op full time or co-op full time. Um, and usually, like I have exactly 1 month left, like to this day. But I know from the past interns that were here and they already left. The process usually is you'll get an email and you fill out kind of like a Microsoft, like Google Forms, kind of saying like, hey, would you like to return? Would you like are you open to considering a second internship or a co-op? And you kind of just fill out whether you are or you aren't, your top, like your priority of places you would like to go, like positions you would like to have. And then they do ask that you go over your resume and then update your resume with information as to what you did during this internship. Um, Kind of make it mainly tailored for Cummins as well, because you are in a sense reapplying, but you're reapplying internally, right? Like it's an email sent from them, and they just want to see like kind of your resume with what you did at this facility, right? Added to it, and then from there, usually a manager or an engineer will give you a recommendation letter if they believe that you're qualified for a return position, or if they want you either to come back to the same place, or they want to recommend you to go to, say, I don't know, Indiana or Tennessee or wherever, right? Depending on what you apply to. But yeah, I know one thing that I was told, especially by my manager, was when I apply to something different than what I did this year. To not that even though I'm comfortable with what I did and I like this spot and I like the position I'm doing as a test engineer co-op, to expand my horizon, to expand and see, all right, maybe I want to try design, maybe I want to try validations, trying to see what field best suits me or like I like the best. Because what if right now I think I love test engineering and then I go to design or another part of the company and I like it even better, right? So it's one of those things where it's kind of internal process of they really want the interns and co-ops to stay within the company, and they would love to hire them full-time, especially because they don't have to train a brand new employee, right? You're already familiar with the system, you're familiar with how things work, you're already um, authorized to do certain things, right? You've done the training. So yeah, it's usually what a lot of companies do. I know especially what Cummins does as well.
Okay, thank you, Eric. That's great
Yeah.
insight. That's great insight to know that also Cummins does something very similar to what Boeing is doing at this point. I'm going to shift over to Mauricio Gonzalez. He's part of Inspírame, and he is also part of Teco Guide and helping students in the community college and Latinos get more education and literally inspired to pursue careers in higher education, be it STEM or be it something that's higher wages and whatnot. With what you've heard, Mauricio, at the community college level, do you see a lot of opportunities being offered to students at the community college? And from what you've heard, what would you advise students to go ahead and prepare to be able to pursue internships for the summer? And why are internships such an important part of a student's career versus just the academic nowadays?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Mauricio, co-founder of Inspírame. First, a couple of things on Inspírame. On September 12th, we have a public meeting to the state, to Assembly Bill 928 committee. We have made it to the Super Bowl. We are now showcasing our technology against the largest system of higher education in America, which is the California State University, University of California, and the California Community Colleges, as the transfer solution, technology solution. And we hope to be recommended to the governor by October to take over basically the mess that has been created by our systems not communicating with each other in terms of aligning the transfer process and distributing that into the entire community. And so it's what we're about. It's what we've been preparing for. We got invited 2 weeks ago, and we have been on fire to really prepare for this. It's our Super Bowl. It's, you know, we're now at the highest level. We feel like, you know, Frito, you know, Flamin' Hot Cheetos story. You know, all of those stories of David and Goliath, we've made it. And so we are very excited. Please join us. It's a public meeting on September 12th. We'll be there next week, Maria and I, in person. The day after that, we have also been invited to present at Latitude Ventures in San Diego, which is the largest Latino-based VC firm this side of the, well, in the country, to be honest with you. So we will be there all weekend. We're basically, it's Shark Tank times a million now. So we, again, we are one of those tech companies that is just exploding with interest and our social impact because of what we do. So please check us out. Please recommend Techo Guide to everyone you see. If you don't know what Techo Guide is, I hope you can see it on my hat here. Download the app, support us in any way you can, et cetera, et cetera. Follow us on every social media platform out there. Part of what we also want to solve is this. Community colleges are the stepchild to university, right? Even though community colleges represent 115 campuses, in terms of access to higher education, 2 million students, the most open access, most affordable system of higher education in America. We are the stepchild when it comes to internships. We have far less internships than the majority of the universities out there. It's just part of the culture, right? You know, people tend to see community colleges as not as valuable in terms of achieving higher ed, and it's really because they're just misinformed. I have seen a wave of new internships being scaled to the community college, and it's really through another technology. It's through Handshake, right? I think Handshake has been able to simplify the processes for community colleges to be able to advertise internships to their students. So I've seen that at almost every community college now, that they've moved to really using this software platform to recruit and find interns. We at Inspírame, in our roadmap, will build out an internship finder tool that's free to the public, you know, as we grow our company, et cetera. So that is part of the roadmap because of the critical importance of having at least one internship in your undergrad. You know, I never had an internship on my undergrad. So my first professional position, I was making mistake that I would have, you know, dusted off myself if I would have done an internship, right? It's that first initial exposure to a professional work setting. It's that first initial exposure to professionals that are of various backgrounds, right? Not just your own background, your own ethnic background, etc. I remember one day I was mopping floors and the next day I had an office at San Jose State University. Imagine that, right? That transition, and learning that transition is so difficult that you do, you know, these internships, I would look at them as that way, as they're stepping stones into a professional position. I mean, it is a professional position. They're treating you like a professional, but they're also allowing you to make mistakes, right? Because they know you're not a professional yet. And those internships are critical to building those skills so that when you do finish that degree and you get that first big time job, right, that you are ready, you know, you're ready to go. You're hitting the ground running. You understand how to behave, how to communicate. You understand different types of work environments, whether they're remote, whether they're in person, et cetera. So it is critical that you try to land yourself an internship. Now, don't limit yourself to internships that are advertised, okay? I'll be the first one to tell you, our company's running so fast, I don't have time to advertise internships, right? If someone sends me an email, go, hey, Mauricio, I'm studying this, I'm at this school, I would love a remote internship, we'll find a spot for you because there's just so much work to do. You know what I mean? And a lot of times companies that are smaller inside are running so fast that they don't advertise their internship. They don't advertise even their jobs, right, that they have open for. So, you know, don't limit yourself to something that's being advertised. You need to sell yourself. You need to be out there asking questions. You need to be out there requesting internship, whether it's for a startup company or a well-established company. You need to create that, because if the company, again, they're in the business of making money, whatever company it is, right? That's their business. And so sometimes you just don't have the amount of time to create the job description, set up the program, and do all this other stuff. You can literally create your own if you're fishing enough, right? So I always tell my students, don't just have one fishing pole in the water, right? You got to have 20 fishing poles in the water in different parts of the lake with different bait until something hit. And then you start pulling that in and decide whether you're going to keep it or you're going to toss it back. And so, keep that in mind when you're doing it, and and it's okay to say no to an internship. Okay. It's okay to say no to a job. Do it professionally. Do not ghost them. The ghosting drives me insane. Okay. At least reply back and say, sorry, something came up. I'm not able to do it this thing. Okay. I've been already ghosted like 20 times by potential, interns just over the last 3 years. And so don't do that, right? Make sure you close the communication gap that's there. But yeah, critical to get an internship. Make yourself an internship by asking people to provide you an internship. That's pretty much all I got to say, because I know I'm out of time.
The key thing that you mentioned there, the ghosting, literally leaving unanswered emails or responses. Let's say, for example, Mauricio or XYZ company reaches out to a student, says, hey, we would like to extend an offer for an internship or employment. All of a sudden you go silent. You literally ghost that company. That puts you in a blacklist. If you ever need to apply back to that company for whatever reason, and large companies do this, they put notes and they keep notes, and you can literally burn a bridge by doing that. So that being said, I'm going to shift over to see Hector, because Hector is a hiring manager and he probably has some insight, some experience. And is that true, that if you are ghosted, does that leave a bad flavor in your mouth? And what do you do in that point as a manager, and or if you see that individual in the future seeking an opportunity again?
I can't say on the record you're ghosted, but people remember.
Yep.
People remember the name. People remember, the person, and it can only hurt you. It's a professional courtesy thing. It's a professional environment. Communication is key, and all I can say is people do remember. So.
Okay, thank you, Hector. So just wanted to validate and corroborate that was still the case. I'm going to shift over to see Feli Michaca. You work for Managed Solutions, which is an IT solutions, computer science, tech industry type of job. But from your perspective, the conversations that we've been having about internships, when should students apply? What should students be doing? What is your advice, one or two pieces of advice for the young professionals and or students looking for next year's summer internship?
Thanks. So here's a concept work for me. Intern to hire. In other words, going with that mentality that if you like company, if you already like the sector, if you already know what sector you're going to be in, just go crazy. Go in with that attitude. You're going to have to basically be.
I think we lost him. He dropped. I think what he was saying is go crazy with, literally applying, like Mauricio was saying, have 20 fishing poles, make sure that you reach out to individuals and you continue looking for those opportunities. And I think you were breaking up pretty bad there, Feli. So I don't know if it's just the connection there. So I'm going to shift over to see Mina Martinez. Do you have any insight from what we've heard and from what you've heard, any perspective and any advice to the young students, young professionals, and maybe even mid-career level individuals?
Well, thank you, Lazaro, and good day to everyone. The opportunity that I see through internships, or at least I've been there in terms of being on the not the recipient, but on the other hand, whether being involved in preparing them for one or even being next to someone who is actually interviewing them, because it's my role in Boeing, the Boeing company, has offered many career fair exhibits out of state. And when it comes to out of state, and we happen to be bilingual, the opportunity there, at least I could see, I have to just say internships have various opportunities for collaboration. That collaboration, whether you are, as someone had mentioned earlier, you are in a hospitality suite, someone's listening. There's other things there. So that's exactly what internships are about. If you're physically in an internship, Diego could be in one. Then he meets up with Eric somewhere in some kind of an event. And it said, how's it going and so forth. And then there's someone who just happens to be hearing, oh, you're in the aerospace industry, particularly Boeing. I'd like to ask you a question. Those kinds of things happen. So it gives you the opportunity for collaboration. Maybe it may not be your fit because you're doing an internship, which is exactly what a rotation opportunity offers. If you are not set for that, and you say, this is not my piece of cake, whatever you want to call it, I'm looking for something way different. Someone mentioned design earlier. Go, no, but I like graphic design, which is a whole different thing than design for a aircraft or something, whatever the terminology is. The thing is, it allows somebody to at least give you a little more insight, which this particular conversation has helped many who are already in or has had an internship. I have friends right now that their sons and daughters have been or are finishing an internship right now. And they are in college because college has started. They ended just right before, like the week before. So their whole summer was work, work, work. But guess what they liked? They liked the dollars that came in. And now it's like, oh, I heard him say, hey, puppy, now I could do this and so forth. And I thought, how wonderful to be able to manage a budget because you worked. You cut out certain things that you had to with your friends during the week. But then came the weekend and kids go wild. Because you can't go wild like that because you got to go back to work. And this is during an internship in the summer. So the advice I want to give you here is because I've seen it. I hear it. And I have friends say, they're out there, their professionalism is out there. They know the handshakes, but what they don't know how to manage very well is a lot of the protocol that comes with that and etiquette as well. I say that because, of course, it's my forte and I'm going to let you know that. And one of the most things, and it's not rare, but people think they know how to handle social media. And that really is, I've seen it go up and down in so many ways, good and bad. But, there's opportunities to get trained on that. If you're not familiar with that, that's another thing that's going to be needed for internships too. They look at your social media profile. So please be very careful with that. As a matter of fact, Saturday, we're going to be doing a last training. This is open to the public, and I'm doing that. The reason I'm bringing it up, not to give me points or anything on this, I just think that there's someone's going to say later, I wish I, just like when you go to an internship. Oh, if I only would have known this, I would have been prepared for it. It's basically awareness. Be aware of your internship. Be aware of your marks. Be aware of doing the beyond because that's what they want to see. Okay, they saw your resume. They saw all these little things that all of a sudden something that really made a good impression was the least that you think maybe Eric, Diego, Victor, who's already, in a professional status from what I'm hearing, or Luis and all the others that have been on here. Am I saying the truth? Have any of you passed that situation? And then there could be someone who's going to pick you up. You may not have the degree yet, but you have something that I like about you. That's your personality. I like your character. I like how you're listening. See those traits? That's what I'm talking about. So thank you very much, Hector. This is something that I really excel for others. There's dress for success and all those things are very important. But please know your social media presence. That's extremely very important right now. And I don't mean how you look, how your hair, how you're groomed. It's what are you doing and how are you reciprocating to those coming in forward for you. With AI, that's a challenge. But internships are very important. If you can swing one and just say, just be honest. I think someone said this earlier, just be upfront, let them know this is protocol, by the way, and say, this is just not my game, but I really want to stay on board. Is there an opportunity for a transition? Do you think there's another department that I can talk to? Remember, I started off by saying it's an opportunity for collaboration. there might be others in those cubicles that are listening and just say, hey, it may not be working for you, but so-and-so over here might be doing something and we're going to need it in the fall. Again, most internships are for the summer, but that's what the career fairs are for, to place those there for you. So look them up, see what's going on, and go straight to Cummins or whoever else. I'm going to say Boeing, of course, because that's who I know best after 34 years. So know your knowledge and your skills and apply them as best as you can, just if it's even talking. It may not even be on your paper. But what they heard and how you presented yourself is what they're going to remember.
Right. So it's the personal human touch that you put into it
Of course.
that really sells at the end of the day, right? You still have to
100%.
go that extra step. Mr. Mike, you've been listening, you've been hearing all the comments, all the individuals that have spoken so far. Any advice from your vast experience through your career that you can share, and or if you can validate anything and or everything that you've heard?
Well, I think everything has been essential for internships. I think the only thing that I'd like to leave you all with, interns are not searching you out. You have to search out the internships. And that takes you to get out, instead of spending time doing something else, spend some time right now, September and October, researching companies, your resume, all the things that we talked about. Get ready and pursue. You have to be proactive because the internships are not going to come to you. And guess what? It takes a little bit of work. It takes a little bit of dedication. So that's what I leave you with. Go for it. It's out there. Get your fishing poles out and start fishing.
Just to kind of close it out, do we have any questions from anybody that maybe we didn't touch on, or any additional comments? Do we have anything from Diego? Eric? No? Okay. Hector, any last parting shots? Yes, Victor.
Yeah, just because before we're talking about it, and I think it's a very useful tool, this ATS software that we have been talking about, applicant tracking system, there's free versions online. So I would recommend using it because it's very useful to use before you apply. So you can make sure that you're striking, a better wording maybe in your experience. I have also seen you could use the open version of ChatGPT and things like that to tailor better your wording. But a lot of these online tools, I mean, there's some that are very cheap. They're very easy because they proactively tell you, hey, maybe phrase this way, so you strike a better score. So anyway, and they're out there and you can use them.
Great insight. That's a great insight. Yeah, if you can take any advantage of any tools that are out there, obviously, first put them in your words and then obviously tailor it a little bit different. Don't just go ahead and use a basic prompt and allow copy paste from ChatGPT or any of those artificial intelligence, because sometimes it doesn't reflect who you are, right? So just make sure that it has your essence and that you utilize the tools, but don't let the tools dictate who you are. So just be aware of that. I don't know if that's what you were going to say, Mina.
It is, and you hit it spot on, because remember, your passion could be just trying for an internship. Some are very scary at the beginning. They have no idea, am I jumping in a fire? Let me talk to someone who has been. For that person, because his communication skills could be much more higher than one is, and then you're like, okay, what am I familiar with? What do I want to display? Those words, which many students are doing, are going with that AI business and what have you. Stick to yourself. They know your words because they're going to hear you. And remember, I told you they'll listen. And they want to see reflection. And that reflection is going to be what those words are. Because they're going to turn around and say, Sasuke, let me know something about, you mentioned this here. What value does that have to you? You're going to go, you don't want to say that. Don't go, don't put in none of those humming fillers. Just be straight with the word you're going to say. Goes, well, I believe, something that's going to come up positive, but they'll catch you right there if you start filling in. So that's what I mean about presence. Right? So I think people understand where I'm going with this.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Just to echo Mina, it takes practice to eliminate the word but you sound so much more professional when you do it. So whenever you can catch yourself, have someone catch you, call you out, I think it'll benefit you in the long run.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Use a
Hector.
little quality control on yourself,
Thank you. And the more you practice, literally, the more you practice, the more you speak with professionals and or you begin assimilating to whatever language format is being used in the industry that you're interested, the better you'll become. And one of those things, how do you achieve that, right? And a little side note here is you have to attend and participate within some of those general body meetings which happen at your local professional chapters. And I know some of the students are saying, well, I'm busy, I have academics, et cetera, but investing some of that time to attend some of those board meetings, to attend some of those general body meetings, to attend and mingle with some of those companies. Maybe you're not interested in XYZ company where that particular meeting is going to take place, but you will see, for example, myself, you'll probably see Mike, you'll probably see Hector, you'll probably see Victor, and you can connect with those individuals, and Mina as well in some of the LA area. And the more you connect with those individuals, the more you'll learn how to talk like those individuals, the more those individuals can know who you are as a person, and they can vouch for you. And sometimes you will need references and recommendations, and you can definitely ask for those individuals to help and reference you because those individuals know you to some extent. I've had individuals reach out to me and say, hey, can you reference me or be my reference for a security clearance? And I say, well, yes, or sometimes I have to sadly decline because I don't know those individuals as much as I would love to be able to give that reference. But as Mike alluded to, it is up to you, the student, to be able to put in the work. And it's not just falling out of the sky and waiting for you to accept. It's up to you to look for those opportunities and make that effort. So I hope this conversation has been beneficial. I hope this has shared some light and it has improved your perspective on how to prepare for those opportunities and attend in-person events as much as possible. You do have a calendar in your school academic year or even in your professional career that allows you to know well in advance when your due dates, deadlines are, and you can say, okay, I have to accommodate my schedule to be able to attend XYZ event because I really want to be present. For example, we know the SHIP National Convention is going to take place from October 30th, 31st, all the way to November 2nd. So you already have that in mind, right? And some students are saying, well, I have finals, I have midterms. We've said in previous conversations here, go ahead and talk to your professors, to your TAs, and make accommodations well in advance to be able to have that week off, or at least have a little bit of leverage to say, I can take that week and be able to focus on XYZ because the conference is literally something that I want to focus. The same thing with career fairs in your pertinent school. Those are set well in advance. You know the times. Go ahead and register as soon as you can. Sometimes students from other universities are welcome to attend in person. I would suggest if you can go to San Diego State and take advantage of their career fairs or anything like that, or UCSD, depending on where you're at, you don't have to be part of that school to participate as long as you make the effort and you go ahead and interview with some of those individuals. And even if you say, I'm from UCSD and the career fairs at San Diego State, those recruiters are going to look at you like, wow, you really want this position. You really want this job because you're coming to a rival campus and you're looking for opportunities outside your campus. That gives you a little bit of a prop points or level up on the other candidates that are from that particular university. I don't know if you can still do that, but I would suggest you look into it and still open yourself for that. So with that being said, thank you so much. Mina, you have one last point?
I do,
Yes, go
Lázaro, if
ahead.
it's okay
Yes.
with your permission, I'd like to extend the invitation to let you know that on this Saturday at 2 o'clock Pacific time, I will be presenting a presentation along with my social media manager, Jennifer. And we put together a presentation that I think by the time you end up going to these conferences, come next month and November, you're going to say, I'm ready for it in some way. And others that are not, you're going to see it right away. So I just want to give you an advance notice to please consider joining us. It is virtual. It's our last public one. All others are private. Like let's say there's an organization that would like one. In fact, I'm talking to a student that's in Ventura. He's a ship VP, and he wants to prepare for the conference.
Awesome.
And we're going to do something virtually because look at the distances that we all are and look at the time that's available. So if there's opportunity, please, those of you that are professionals working in corporations, I'm working right now with a particular director at Boeing in El Segundo that you never know where something's going to lead. So these chats are extremely important to reference from and said, because of this chat, I was informed. I got a lead, and that's what I'm about. It's just like Mauricio was saying about what he said. We would have not known that if he didn't come out and say it. So thank you for allowing the chat to go beyond just the question that you started off with at the beginning. So look at me up in my social media handles, and you'll see the information is there, okay?
Awesome.
Or contact me directly if you wish.
Thank you. So you heard it. Mina's having a session virtually. I'm assuming via
Social
Zoom.
media etiquette,
Social
yes.
media etiquette on Saturday, September 7th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. That's online. It's virtual. And along with that, an announcement for those of you who are, here, and if you can spread the word, September 18th, Cafecito Chats has the pleasure of having Susana Valdez Wolf, who is the CEO of Ship National, will be coming and sharing an hour with us, answering questions about the importance of SHIP. And I hope that you can definitely make and join us for that particular September 18th Wednesday Cafecito Chat. So with that, I leave you. Thank you so much. Gracias. And Mike, thank you. Eric, thank you. Luis Carlos Montero, thank you. Mina, thank you so much. Victor, thank you for joining us. Diego Martinez, thank you, sir. Cesar Barranco, Hector Felix, thank you for joining us. And for the rest of the individuals that were here, thank you for being here. And we'll see you next week. Have a good one. Hasta luego. Bye-bye.
Gracias, Lázaro.
Gracias, Lázaro.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you,